But first off, I just want to let everyone introduce who they are.
I'm Cece.
I'm Jessica.
I'm Annie.
I'm John.
And I'm Alex. So,
And we got
Josh,
Josh in the back
yeah.
passing out flyers.
I'm Big Josh.
Awesome.
I don't pay attention very well.
Josh is awesome. Let's talk about the Cooper House. Remnants of the past. We're the Renovation group, and we deal with getting this historic landmark back to its prominent self. Before I go into that, I want to share a short story. Say that 5 times fast. My grandfather collects old cars and he restores them to a great condition, kind of like the Mustang references we were hearing a little earlier. My favorite car he's done was a 1970 Corvette. When I first saw it, I was around, I'd say probably 7 years old, so I wasn't too young, but I wasn't that old at all, so it slips in my mind a little bit, but it was rusted inside now, and I can remember that. The seats were torn leather, and you can basically see the bare steel that held it all together. Fast forward to when I was 16 and we finished that model. You would not believe the transformation. He made it look like it did the first day he was rolling off the lot, but even better. Here's where the Cooper House comes in. I want everyone to envision the house as an old car. Just think about it. Still running, but kind of broken down, all hopes of repair. But let's imagine we can repair. And we will. You could simply tear down the walls, rename the building, and lose all the history if you want. But a house is just not the same. And a house isn't just a home. It's a time capsule of amazing memories and life experiences. It's what you do inside the walls that make a room, not the actual wood and bricks surrounding you. The walls inside the Cooper House have seen countless special things, and we want them to be able to experience even more. With your help, we can make this happen. We are your renovation group. We like to tell you how. First off, we'll be discussing the current state of the Cooper House. Then we'll get into what the renovation will entail. Shortly after that, we'll identify other historic buildings on campus. Next will be a lead targeted renovation type deal. We'll end it all with a walk through the Cooper House. So thank you for your time, and let's begin.
To begin, we have a short video that will shed some light on the current state of the Cooper House. Upon completion of the foundation reinforcement, the subcontractors will begin to install the additional wiring, plumbing, heating, and air conditioning requirements, as well as any additional prerequisite determined by the local building code. Drywall and insulation will be installed, mudded, sanded, and painted. Once it's complete, the interior finishes will begin to be installed along with fixtures, including but not limited to setting the door jambs, hanging the doors, putting on the hardware, interior trim, and receptacles. The floor will be repaired next, along with the existing stairs and the stained glass window. Meanwhile, the exterior finishes will take place simultaneously, which will include the shutters on the windows, cleaning and repairing the porch area, as well well as making sure the roof and gutters are in proper working order. That was an outline of how the Cooper House will be renovated and improved. Now we have a video of Josh talking about the building. He has over 16 years of construction experience.
This is where it all started. This was actually somebody's farm, and now it's a place where people come to learn how to farm. It provides the school with a window into the past that shows the origin of the college. As a carpenter, it's a real honor to be able to come into a historic building and see the way things were constructed, the support, the reinforcement, the trim, the doors, the hardware. It matters because it is an incredible architectural work, something that is not likely to ever be repeated or seen again. The level of craftsmanship that it took to make this building look the way it does is incredible. For the renovation, it would be considerable, of course, but this house is not so far gone that it can't be repaired. Financially speaking, it would be much more cost efficient to repair. If the Cooper House were to be torn down, it would be a real tragedy.
The Cooper House will offer a relaxing space for students and teachers to come together to do work or even enjoy a glass of wine at the end of the day. There's not an area like this on the south side of campus, and this will surpass all expectations of a renovated historical home. In the last 4 years, 11 historical buildings have been torn down in order to expand the campus. The Cooper House is still standing, and we are moving forward with our plans of expansion and remodeling in order to keep its story alive. But why the Cooper House? The Winterbrand building was built in 1941 as fears of World War II crossed the Atlantic and was later used to study aviation, aeronautics, and was even used to train chimpanzees for spaceflight in the 1950s. It has since been torn down to make room for new dorms. There are many other buildings around campus that have such significant historical backgrounds, yet they are only being recognized for their land value. Some others that you may recognize include the Matthews House, Patterson Hall, and the Hamilton House, just to name a few. The Cooper House is one of the last standing historical buildings on campus, and it's our duty as ag students to protect our roots. In a letter from the director of Bluegrass Trust, Sheila Farrell said to President Capilouto, "The Bluegrass Trust encourages the University of Kentucky to better incorporate its historically and architecturally important resources into its master plan as a way to visibly utilize its unique heritage to the benefit of the campus and the city of Lexington." And now Cece will discuss why and how the Cooper House is a perfect candidate for LEED certification.
Did you know that the greenest building is the one that already exists? This is because historic buildings represent embodied energy. Embodied energy is the amount of energy associated with extracting, processing, manufacturing, and transporting building materials. The materials used to build buildings today, such as plastics, steel, aluminum, and vinyl, are among the most consumptive of energy and need to be replaced every 10 to 20 years. Historic buildings, on the other hand, are made from materials such as brick, wood, and concrete, often with old growth windows, as you saw in the picture, both brick and wood exteriors, and stone foundations that are 100 years old or older and could last another 100 years simply because of its natural quality. Conserving and rehabilitating buildings preserves embodied energy and reduces the need for new materials or new construction. With that being said, we have focused our renovations mainly on interior and exterior repairs, plumbing, electrical, parking, and the stained glass window. Our goal has been to integrate historic preservation into our planning efforts for effective community growth and development by following the LEED certification for historic buildings. The rise of sustainability and green building movement can be seen all over the University of Kentucky campus. We want to lead our renovations with our earth in mind. For us to do this, we have to know about LEED. LEED, or Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, stands for Green Building Leadership. LEED is transforming the way we think about how buildings and communities are designed, constructed, maintained, and operated across the globe. These LEED certified buildings save money and resources and have a positive impact on the health of occupants while promoting renewable clean energy. There are 4 levels of certification in order to be LEED certified. The points a project earns determines the level of LEED certification the project will receive. The first threshold is certified, followed by silver, gold, and platinum. The Cooper House will be following the silver targeted renovation process. This particular form of LEED applies to buildings that are being newly reconstructed or are about to go through a serious renovation. With LEED comes a lifetime of returns because they cost less to operate, reducing energy and water bills by nearly 40%, thus adding to its global recognition as the premier mark of achievement in green building. Jessica will now explain how exactly the Cooper House will look in the phases of renovation it will go through and to become the beautiful home it once was.
Now we're going to take a walk through what the potentially renovated Cooper House could look like. You're going to see that there are labels on the floor plans, but these are just an example of what we could be using the Cooper House for. And our goal as our group is to renovate the Cooper House to where it is comfortable and move-in ready for whatever its future use may be. So this is what we envision the first floor to look like. We're going to be renovating the hardwood floors and refinishing them. We're going to remove extraneous closets and walls to open up the floor plan. We are also going to be closing the entrance off to the basement so that it is restricted access only. And the basement will be deepened, and we're going to be using that for the mechanical rooms and for storage for whoever is using the future Cooper House. These are a few pictures of what we're going to base the interior finishes of the Cooper House off of. We want everybody, students, faculty, and staff, to come to the Cooper House and feel like they are coming home. The second floor is going to be more of an administrative space, and it's going to feature both conference rooms, classrooms, and office space. And this will be used for UK classes and also teaching extension classes as well. Last but not least, we have the third floor, and it's going to be a quiet study space for students. While the rooms aren't very large, it's going to be a haven for students that want to study on South Campus after the Ag Info Center closes. In order to make all of this a reality for the Cooper House, we have created a proposal for a renovation plan, and through this, we have two phases of this plan. The first phase is the funding and awareness phase, where we will begin immediate student integration. And through this integration, students throughout the entire University of Kentucky, including architecture, interior design, and landscape architecture, just to name a few, will be able to put their studies to use and help plan the renovation of the Cooper House. We're also going to be creating strategic partnerships with local businesses to help sponsor fundraising events for the Cooper House. The second phase is the renovation phase. And we have set a $3.9 million budget through this, and you can see that in our renovation proposal plan. We have set also core values that are very strict for whoever is going to come in and help us renovate the Cooper House. And these include the LEED Silver targeted renovation, inclusion of students in the process, and restoring as many of the finishes that already exist in the Cooper House as possible. In conclusion, the Cooper House is in great need of renovation. This is a beautiful historic home, and it has so much history, and without it, we would just be at a loss for the College of Agriculture. First, we discussed what the Cooper House's current state is and what the renovation would entail. Then we talked about the historical houses on the University of Kentucky campus. Next, we talked about a LEED certified renovation. And then last but not least, we took a walk through the Cooper House. The Cooper House is an extremely incredible building, and it would be an absolute just tragedy to lose the Cooper House and all of its history. Thank you.
Okay.